be hypermobile and not flexible? That's a very, very good question, and I'm often asked because a lot of times people don't realize that hypermobility and flexibility are not the same. So it appears to be the same because we gauge flexibility based on range of motion, when in reality, range of motion is not necessarily a good gauge to go with. So can you be hypermobile and not flexible? I'm gonna say from a clinical rehab perspective, yes. Because hypermobility very often turns into or translates into instability at the joint. Instability of a joint means excess range of motion. So I'm sorry, but if you dislocate your shoulder, that's a pretty darn good range of motion, but that does not make it flexible. So you gotta be very clear about the terminology here. And I don't know what difference it makes if you're flexible or unstable and why that even matters. The reality is with hypermobility, there's a lot of stiffness. Now that typically in our mind, they don't go together because we're looking at, wow, I've got excess movement. Why am I so stiff? The reason behind that is that your fascia is involved. The fibrotic deposit in the fascia is impacted. Your mast cell relies heavily on that and is increased from that. You have a series of events that can take place as a result of that, so you can have flare-ups as well. You rely heavily on the mass of the muscle to keep you basically together, because you have to understand your muscles will contract, and it is the ligaments that show the action of the muscles, and your ligaments are a little bit loosey, and so there is that delayed in process of showing what that action is, and it doesn't materialize as solidly as it would have if you did not have that faulty collagen in your connective tissue. So that muscle tension happens because it doesn't send the command of, it doesn't contract and show up its action. It just seems like you rely heavily for gathering you closer. It's kind of like putting that garment on that allows your let's say like a garment like alignment that I recommend to my patients. So what ends up happening is when they put it on, they feel a little bit safer. It's kind of like that heavy blanket that you put on, and it makes you feel better. So there are different reasons behind that. So flexibility, instability, hypermobility, stiffness, they're just being thrown out there, but you got to be very clear about the reason behind what's happening and be very clear with the terminology. I hope that clarifies some of that in your mind, and I am glad that you are watching this. Make sure you subscribe because I do a lot more videos on clarifying what exactly is happening, at least as much as I know. Take care.